Hiya, my name is Amelia May.
Why be anything other than happy?
This is my wellness podcast called Through the Waves. The ocean has always inspired my life in more ways than one.
It should always be filled with love and passion and excitement.
I love viewing my emotions and experiences in life like waves move through the ocean.
I love you.
Hi guys, and welcome back to Through the Waves, and I'm so excited to record. I say that before every episode because I genuinely get so excited to record these episodes and just share with you guys and communicate with you guys. Today's episode is a really fun episode, and it's something that I had already planned on doing, but one of you guys messaged me asking if I could talk about like moving and like changing like your environment and making friends and new beginnings. And so shout out to Lindsay. So thank you, Lindsay, so much for this recommendation. And I'm so excited to share with you guys because I moved from my tiny little hometown like 1,000 miles away to Florida. My life changed so much moving here, and I really discovered who I am and who I think I am in this world because of moving, and I'm so beyond grateful, and I cannot wait to share all of the things that I've realized and all of the self-actualization that I've gone through since moving from Delaware to Florida. I was 18 years old. So waves of the week, it was that the past week I was so sick. I feel like even in last week's episode, you could hear I'm like super like nasally and super sick, and I was really sick, really unwell. I don't know what it necessarily was, but I woke up one morning and I went to the gym, and then I was at the gym and I ended up throwing up because I was not feeling well at all. So my body was shaking, my body was freezing cold. I had an off and on temperature. I had a really bad sore throat, and I'd only thrown up once, and I just had zero energy in my body, and so I like basically laid in bed all week last week, and I was a miserable, sick puppy, and thankfully my boyfriend took such great care of me, and whenever I'm sick, Ryan's the best at constantly like bringing me food or bringing me anything that I need and making sure that I'm getting enough love and that I'm constantly feeling my best self even when I'm not. And I didn't have an appetite, and I'm like forcing myself to eat, and I don't have an appetite to eat, and I don't know what I had. I think I had the virus that's going around because I feel like right now a lot of people are sick. I'm trying to think of my other symptoms, but yeah, it basically was not a good week, and when I'm sick, it's like I'm really sick. Like there's no getting me out of bed. I don't want to be around anyone. I like cocoon myself in my bed, and I just like have tons of blankets on me. And so yeah, so I'm so grateful that I'm feeling so much better now. And I also think that being sick, you take your health for granted, and I think I can always show more appreciation for my health after feeling better or after no longer feeling sick. And the older I get, I'm realizing that I need to take care of my body more. As a child, I feel like I didn't take vitamins and I didn't do the things that I needed to do or like boost my immune system the way it should be boosted because like we're exposed to so many germs. And so now that I'm adult and I have so much to do, there's literally no stopping me. And when I do get sick, I cannot do my daily habits or routines, and all I feel like I can do is just sleep and stay in bed. So I'm not a good sick person. I'm not an active sick person. I just curl up in bed and I don't watch any movies or TVs. Actually, I take that back. This time was different. I ended up binge watching the Meghan Markle and Prince Harry documentary on Netflix, which was so good. I've been so invested in the entire situation since the news broke out and they did the interview with Oprah. I want to say that was 2020, but I've been so invested, and so I honestly don't know like the full story. I don't know genuinely, like I only know like their side of the story and like everything from their perspective, but it really breaks my heart to hear like their perspective and like their friends' perspective and all that they were going through and all that their kids were going through at the time, and while being pregnant and having puppies and not having your family together. And so that is a really crazy impactful story that obviously none of the world knew was going on while it was happening. And so I think things like that is something that like we take for granted when we see people in the limelight, and it just opens your eyes to realize that like it's not what it looks like on the front cover. It could be a completely different story. So I actually watched that while I was sick, and I also announced release last week that I am releasing my candle company called Truly Intention. It's a candle company and it's a brand inspired by the beach and the ocean and everything in between, something that I love so much. And all of the scents, I want them to be completely natural, raw, and vegan. I want to have my hand in every single part of this. The reason that I am calling it Truly Intentions is because this year is the year that I've gotten so clear on my intentions, and I feel like when we're able to follow our intentions, we're able to be led to the highest version of ourselves. And so anyone who comes in contact with Truly Intentions, I want them to be able to light the candle and feel like they're connecting with either a word of themselves. So each candle, I don't want to spoil too much, but each candle basically is going to represent a word of intention. And so I want whoever is in contact or lighting the candle to feel inspired by who they are and their intention moving forward to connect them with their highest version of themselves. And all of the scents I am so excited about because they all smell incredible. Everything I want to have a hand in. I want to know what all the products are, and I am only sourcing vegan and cruelty-free products. That way, when you light them, I think, and I've researched this so much in the past couple months, that when we light candles, there's so many scents in candles that are actually not good for our bodies to be inhaling. And so I want the candles to be as natural as possible, and I want to bring a presence of aroma to anyone's home or anyone's environment that they're lighting them in. So I'm so excited, and I cannot wait to share more with you guys about Truly Intention. And then also this past week, I have seen so many of my friends, and it's been so incredible. I have had 2 friends come into town who I went to school with who no longer live here. My friend and I, we grabbed Pokey the other day and just caught up for hours, and it was so much fun to see where he is in life and just hear all about what he's doing. It's so crazy how much life changes you after moving away from college, and just the growth that you can make in 1 year is amazing to me. Yesterday I went to my first ever showroom, which was really exciting. Lily texted me that 2 years ago on yesterday. We were in Miami on Collins Street and we saw Pretty Little Thing, and so we went to go walk into the Pretty Little Thing shop, and the lady that was working there told us that it was an invite only situation, you have to be invited to go. And so we were like, oh my gosh, well that's so cool to whoever gets invited. And so it was a really, really cool opportunity that they invited me to go to their showroom and pick out a couple pieces to wear. One thing that I love about Pretty Little Thing is that they're super body inclusive, and I think that is something that now all being shown, that there's not one body type, there's not one size fits all, and everyone to feel comfortable and beautiful in their skin, as you should feel in your own clothes. You should feel sexy and beautiful and confident in who you are, because life is too short and there's no other place to feel that way other than in yourself, which is your home and in the world. And then after I drove up from Miami to go to Boca, and then I met up with my friend Madison, who we connected our freshman year of college, and then she ended up moving away. But we've stayed close friends, and we have stayed a bond for the past 4 years. I love her to pieces, and she's doing her own business ventures, which was so exciting to hear about. She has recently just started a podcast called Girl Connect, if you guys want to check them out. We have all different perspectives of what it means to be a woman, and we just had the best time ever. There was a tiny little bird that came and plopped on our table, and I'm sure we should not have been doing this, but we were feeding it tempura bites. Oh, and it was so sweet. I felt we literally were having our Snow White moment. And she is just such a kind soul, and she just fills my whole heart up. And being around her is so grounding and present. And so that was honestly really, really great to see her yesterday. And then now, after feeling sick for so long, after being sick for a full week, I have had the most productive week in so long. On Monday, I literally woke up at 5:30 and did not stop moving until 9:30 at night. And I just got all the things that I wish I would have done throughout the week. And it was so great. I was able to record for you guys, and I was able to shoot content and organize content and figure out my plans. And I'm starting to plan going to New York Fashion Week, which is so exciting because it's going to be my first fashion week. And then Tuesday, I did a ton of meetings and running around, and it just felt so good to actually, I feel like when I was sick, I didn't feel like I was on my routine, so I felt super out of whack and super out of control for the entire time. And I hate that, because I feel like when I feel out of control or out of whack, or I feel like I don't have control of my life, it's mainly because I'm not doing anything to control it. And so I knew that I needed to sit and rest and be by myself in order to feel better, to be able to be productive for the next week. I wanted this episode to be all about post-grad, making new friends as an adult, getting out of your comfort zone and changing your environments. So my advice to anyone who wants to move away into a new place where they don't know anyone or don't have any relationships established or connections is that you genuinely have to just take a leap of faith. And if you're feeling like you're ready to move or something in your gut is telling you that you've outgrown where you currently are, there's a reason for that. And you'll literally never know unless you take the chance. And so I think the worst thing that you can do is hold yourself back from opportunities that you're thinking about in your head. I used to do that a ton growing up. I used to think about all of these things that I wanted to do, and I didn't know how to put them into action. So eventually I would just stop and kind of watch other people live out my dream when genuinely, like, life is too short to do anything other than what makes you happy. And getting out of your comfort zone is going to make you grow more than you could ever imagine. I genuinely could not. I feel like I keep saying that word when I'm recording. But I so seriously could not imagine what my life would be like if I didn't move out of Delaware when I did when I was 18 years old and take the leap of faith to move to, and yes, it was different because I came to school where freshman year everyone is trying to make bonds and you're in classes that kind of force you to communicate with your peers, but I genuinely don't think I would be the same person who I am right now if I didn't move out of my hometown. I think the worst thing that you can do is when you're feeling stagnant, stay stagnant. If something in your heart and soul is telling you that there's something out there better for you, I think the worst thing to do is to not listen. I think you need to just take the leap of faith because you'll genuinely never know. And if it doesn't work out, it really wasn't meant to be, but at least you can say that you tried. Moving down to Florida from Delaware was terrifying to me as an 18-year-old, being completely on my own and literally having no one I knew down here. So it really pushed me to grow, to build comfort zones for myself that weren't created by other people like my parents, like I had been growing up my entire life, living at home and going to high school. It really pushed me to grow, to fill the shoes that I'd always wanted. And I think I wouldn't have also if I didn't meet the people along my journey. And not everyone that you meet needs to continue to be a part of your journey, but they're there for a reason. And I think when you're able to take yourself out of your safety zone and your safe space, you're able to decide who you want to be on your own terms. And I think when you start living life on your own terms, that's when you consider actually living and not doing it for other people, but you're genuinely doing it because you want to please who you are and you know that there's more out there that you're capable of doing. Now, in my wellness journey episode, I talked all about who I was when I first came down to Florida and how Florida has shaped me into who I am now. And I had to go through all of the hard things. And if you haven't listened to the episode, give it a listen if you want to hear any of what I'm talking about. But I had to go through all of the shit and all of the ups and the downs and the hard times and the best times to get me to where I am now, to have the people in my life that I genuinely love so much with all my heart who love me back, and to live where I live. I actually ended up moving 30 minutes away or 20 minutes away from where I went to college, and I would have not known where I was supposed to be unless I just came down and take the leap of faith. I think also something that's super duper important to remember is always feeling the sense of connection with home that is you. I think as humans, our real home is our bodies, and so wherever you go, as long as you're home, that's what matters. And when you're starting to build structure or starting to build like a new life for yourself, finding your comfort zones are really important. As much as I said, get the fuck out of your comfort zone, find what makes you comfortable and find what makes you light up every single day and keep doing that. Don't ever stop doing that, because then life is just not worth living. Life is just on a constant loop. I also think test the waters. Before moving down to Florida, I came down to tour Boca Raton with my family during spring break, and so that's how I knew I wanted, as soon as I stepped foot on Lynn University's campus, I felt at home. And so they always say that when finding like a college campus, that you'll know immediately as soon as you step onto the campus that is where you're supposed to be. And I truly believed that when I came to Boca, this was truly where I was supposed to be. And I didn't know that I would be staying in Florida after college. I kind of figured that after college, I would have moved away to California because that was always like my goal and my dream. But the thought of not living in Florida and not living so close to the beach and all of the beautiful relationships relationships that I've created for myself down here breaks my heart. And I also know that when the time comes, I don't know if Florida will be my forever home. I get asked that all the time when I do question and answers. You guys ask me if I think I'll always stay in Florida. I think Florida feels right for the time being. I don't know if I'll always be here, but when I feel like I'm ready to take that leap of faith, I will be ready because I know that wherever I go, it'll always work out for me. And so I think the most important thing is to realize that in life, you don't have just one shot. Every single day is a shot. You have, within a year, 365 days to make the best life you can. And so I think taking the leap and doing it and making yourself grow and push your boundaries and do things that you would have never done, to look back and just see the growth and see how far you've come. I also love the idea of creating your reality in your own space. And so I think for me, like, I've lived in past living situations where my college apartments were not what I wanted and they weren't exactly how they wanted to be. And so now that I'm on my own and I live in a space where I genuinely love to wake up to every single morning, that makes me feel at home, where I can set the mood and I can play music that I love and I can cook in my own kitchen and I can take baths, or I can make my bed every single day, and I set myself up for habits and routines that make me feel like the most me, but also make me feel so comfortable in my space. I've never gone anywhere too far from the ocean. Even being in Delaware, I was constantly at the beach during the winter or the fall and the spring, and living in Florida, I live a couple miles away from the ocean, which I know is truly such a privilege and I'm so beyond grateful for every single day, because the ocean is really my comfort zone. This past May, I went to Ireland with my best friend Lily and our school for a study abroad trip, and I love the city, don't get me wrong, but I realized that moment I am not a city girl. I realized that I need fresh air and I need to be able to walk in sand and I need to be able to be by a body of ocean. And one day we took like a day trip to go to Howth, which is a town in Ireland. It was absolutely beautiful, and me and Lily sat on this one rock with our friend Angel for about like almost an hour and a half while everybody else explored the town, just because I felt when I was in Ireland so out of my comfort zone that I didn't feel like I had a sense of like belonging or a sense of comfort. So being by the ocean literally helped that trip so much. It was right in the middle of the trip, and I am someone who gets really homesick, but it's funny because I don't think I get homesick based off like my room. It's like I get homesick based of like my environment. And so being in Ireland, I just cried to Lily so many times about wanting to go home. I was like, okay, 2 weeks is too long for me. Like, I can travel for a week, that's fine. 2 weeks is pushing my limit. And so when I sat there on that rock and just watched the waves crash, that's really when I felt like a connection to myself again. And I was like, okay, I can do this. This is fun. This is gonna be a great trip. And then the rest of the trip was incredible, but I think I never used to think of myself as somebody who got homesick until the trip. When we first got there, I was so over the moon excited, and Lily felt kind of the opposite. She was like, what the heck, I just got taken out of my comfort zone. And as time progressed, like, Lily started to adjust so much better than I did. I was like, this is not like what I'm used to. Like, I want my daily habits. And although I still did my routines, it was changed because I was living somewhere where I don't have all the things that I used to do every single day. And I wasn't able to drive my car. We had to walk everywhere or take the train or take the bus. And so that was something that I was not used to. And I realized in that moment that like, I love being by grass and I love being in open land, and that's what makes me feel happy. And so I realized that I think anywhere I go, I just need that, and then I will feel like I'm at home. I think we all feel when we are being either taken out of our environments or moving to somewhere new, we feel a shift in our routines. And I think it's so important to, when you're moving or when you're trying to figure out what you want at a new space or new area or new town or new city, I think it's so important to sit and realize the routine that you want or the structure that you want to build, because then you have control over what you can control. And again, I'm such a routine person. Yesterday actually was like the day from hell. I literally never feel like this, and I felt like it yesterday. I have not had really bad days in a really long time because of the routines I'm able to set up for myself. And I feel like yesterday I just had like a breaking point where I still did all my things and I still forced myself to be in the routine to make me feel comfort at least of some point or feel more myself. But I literally had such an emotional day, and I don't know if it's if it's because it's like that time, but I bawled my eyes out so many times yesterday, and I was just so anxious and just so flustered. Although it was an incredible day, for some reason I just didn't feel right in my body. My emotions were all over the place and I just didn't feel right. So I think building a routine that you genuinely love and can appreciate every single day to bring yourself back to ground zero is so important, and especially when moving into a new space. I think whether you go to the gym or you eat a certain way or you go to bed at a certain time, I think it's so important to maintain that no matter where you go, but also create and build the dream reality that you've always wanted to since you're going to a new space. And I had sent Lindsay, the girl who suggested this episode, a voice message back, and I told her that I used to feel the same way when I was home. Delaware is such a small area, and so I knew that there was more out there for me. As much as I love home, home was just not where I was supposed to be, and so I skyrocketed out of Delaware, and I lost myself for a really long time, but then eventually came back to who I was based off of creating my own reality and creating my own routines. And so I think when I travel, I still wake up every morning and meditate, and I still make it an emphasis to do my breath work, and I still sleep with an eye mask every night, so I still sleep with an eye mask while I'm traveling, and I still do all the same things that I would do in my skincare routine when I wake up or when I'm going to bed, the same things I would do. And so that just helps me build like a deeper connection to feeling a lot more real in my environment and not allowing my environment to change my mindset, but my mindset growing and changing as the environment grows and changes in my life. I really hope that made sense. I feel like that kind of been a little bit confusing, but basically, you'll never know until you try, and I think moving out of your comfort zone is the best thing that you could potentially do for yourself, and you don't have to be there forever. I think eventually one day I want to move back to my hometown, and I want to have my own place, but I know that for the time being, I'm not supposed to be there right now, and so it's what makes me feel good. And then post-grad is honestly something that a lot of us experience, and I think it's a very common emotion. And I think post-grad blues are so normal, and I think they need to be normalized a lot more, and I feel like I've not heard really anyone talk about them as much, because I know for sure when I graduated college, I had like a good 2 months where I genuinely was so sad every single day about not being in school. And at the time, my senior year, I was working double on social media while being a triple enrolled student. The first day of my senior year, I skipped into the advisor's office, and I was so happy because I knew I was going to be graduating this year. And I looked at my advisor and I was like, hey girl, like I just wanted to check in with you to make sure that I'm all good to go. I'm all set to graduate this year. And she kind of was like, Amelia, sit down. And I was like, what is going on? She was like, you're technically not a senior at all. You're technically a sophomore. And I was like, no, like there's no way. I've been here for 4 years. How is that even possible? And she was like, you dropped all of your classes freshman year, and you dropped half your classes sophomore year, so you are way behind your graduating class. And then my heart sank, and I was like, no, you don't understand. I have to walk across that stage and get my diploma within 4 years. I told my family I was going to, and I'm definitely going to. What can I do? And she was like, you're just gonna have to graduate next year. And I was like, no, I cannot do that. So what I did was I ended up quadrupling up all of my classes. So not only was I working full-time doing social media, I was also now being a full-time, double-time student. So I was in classes from beginning of the day to the end of the day, and so grateful that our school had blocks for my senior year of college because of COVID. So we were in classes for 2 days. We were in classes for 2 hours, Mondays and Wednesdays, and then Tuesdays and Thursdays, 2 hours, but different schedules. So because I was able to do that, I was able to fill my schedule with classes. And then I was like, okay, this is cool. Like, this is good. She ended up telling me that I was missing 97 credits on top of 27 credits that I was already taking within that year to already fill up because I thought I was already behind. So I ended up taking more classes than anyone has ever in my college, at my college campus before. And then they also told me that I needed to get an internship. And I was like, I cannot do that. I don't have the time to do that with double school and working full time and being my own boss. I don't have time for an internship. So I asked if I could do an internship for myself and do it based off of what I do in the real world, because everything that I've learned in school, I use and I take through social media with me. So they agreed to it. So I was the first student at my college to ever take as many college classes within 1 year. And I was also the first student to intern for herself, which is a really cool and funny story to tell now after graduating. But the past year I worked my ass off. And so because I got so used to being in such a structured routine where it was class, schoolwork, work, travel. Once I graduated, I was like, okay, so what am I supposed to do now? Like, I have all this free time that I was filling with school. And so I got really sad and I got the post-college blues. And I talked to all my friends about it and they were like, me too. Like, it feels so weird not to go to campus anymore or to not to be surrounded by friendly faces that we've seen our entire college career. And it took me a long time to actually adjust to realize yes, I'm not in college anymore. I am an adult. I'm doing my real world and it's lonely. And it feels so weird because I think a lot of the connections that I made were all from college. Like, a lot of my friends were from school. And so now that I'm graduated, it's a lot harder to make friends. And I think putting yourself out there to make connections, to build a community is so, so, so important. I have to go out of my way now to make relationships with people because I'm not going to see them in passings in the hallway, and I'm not going to see them in the dining hall, and I'm not going to see them in my classrooms. I have to go out of my way to text them to be like, hey, what's your schedule looking like this day? Or when do you have free time coming up next month? And so I feel like I went through a phase where I got super duper lonely after graduating and not knowing really what my purpose was. But then I had to really sit with myself and realize that my purpose is what I'm doing currently in this moment. And I want to do this every single day and share and love and grow. And that's my real purpose. And it's so weird to think because we were in school for 14 years of our lives. That's all we've ever known, or at least that's all I ever knew. And I also think making connections outside of just school is so important too. So one of my really good friends, Justin's, we met because of Zenergy. And so I didn't meet him going to college. And my boyfriend, we met through social media. I didn't meet him going through Lynn University. And I think when you're able to expand and not just be narrow focused, when you do get out of college or when you do get out of an environment that you were so used to being in, it kind of opens up your mind to think, hey, that's not true. There's so many people that I could talk to, and there's so many people that I could spend time with. And I'm such an extroverted person that I want to be filling my days with at least seeing someone that I love or speaking to someone that I love. But then I'm able to come home at the end of the night and just be by myself and sit with myself and be super present in who I am. And I think that's so important to me. As I'm getting older, I've kind of realized that I'm not as extroverted as I thought I was. I'm super extroverted, don't get me wrong, but I think I'm a introverted extrovert, and I think it's because I love the alone time by myself, and I love being able to spend time with me and do all the things that I need to do that bring me back down to who I am. But then I love getting to meet people and getting to socialize and going out and going to dinners and doing all the fun stuff. And finding the balance was really hard for me at first, but I think having COVID was such a push for me to do that, because I think that's when I realized I genuinely loved my alone time was during COVID. And so when I have that time, I'm also able to show up better for the people who I'm around, for them and for their life. Also, when college ended, it was a really big moment of gratitude for me and just appreciation for starting a brand new chapter. And I'm no longer a college student. I am now Amelia. I am who I am, and I'm working in the real world, and I'm getting to travel, and I'm getting to explore, and I'm getting to meet people. And I think being really proud of those moments and just focusing on all the good things that happened during college have definitely helped me close that chapter in my life, just to remind myself how proud I am for moving so far from home and making all these beautiful connections with people and learning who I am and learning what I love in life and learning what makes me happy and what fills my cup up every single day. And then being able to just kind of compartmentalize that was a huge chapter in my life, but that is not who I am. And so being able to realize that this is my new chapter, and this is the time where I get to grow and expand the most, because I don't have anyone telling me what I have to do or what classes I have to show up for. I feel like I just ranted about that for so long, and I genuinely hope I'm not the only person who felt that after graduating school. As much as I didn't love school, I genuinely just love feeling a part of a community, and that is something that's so big for me, is building a community for yourself with people that love you and people that care about you. And so I think when moving to a new environment, continue to do the things that make you happy, because that's when you're gonna meet the people that connect with you the most. So for instance, like if you love working out, or you're most likely going to find people who enjoy the same things as you at places that you like to go to. So like a yoga studio. If you love doing yoga, I'm sure you can make connections with other girls or other guys who love doing yoga too. And then after that, I'm sure you'll have deeper connections with them and find more things in common that you ever would have thought. But I think that is such a good way to find the right people when you move to a new environment. And I think there's so many ways nowadays with technology, being able to like reach out to people and say, hey, I'm Amelia, like I just moved to town. I saw you through Instagram. Your Instagram looks super cute and I would love to grab coffee. I've messaged so many people saying like, hey, this is gonna be really upfront, but like I want to be friends with you. Like, you seem like a really cool person. Honestly, I feel like I sound like a stalker, but it's helped me in so many of my relationships and genuinely brought so many people into my life that I love. I think the worst thing that you can do is to hold your breath when it comes to things that you genuinely want to say. And if there's somebody that you feel like gives off positive energy, that you want to go up and say, hey, love your energy, like, I'm Amelia. Or, hey, like, I love your outfit. Where's it from? I think making human connection is one of the most beautiful things about life. And I think being able to relate to someone is what makes us all human. And I think the right people will approach you back the exact same way that you want to be and you deserve to be. And so I think putting yourself out there or just making connections, like I've always done that since I was a kid, and the only time that I did struggle with not putting myself out there was when I was dealing with really bad anxiety and depression my freshman, sophomore year of college. But the more that I think that like everyone is in the same position, all we want is human connection. And so I think when you're able to connect or bond with someone, it brings you closer and it grounds you so much. And so I think just going out of your way to either compliment someone or say something nice to them, or compliment their outfit, or ask them any good like recommendations around like a new area is so important to just grow. And you also never know, that person could genuinely end up being like your future bridesmaid or your future husband or your future godmother, you know? Like you never know unless you try. And so I think that is the scariest thing about life, but it's also the most important thing that pushes us to be who we truly are and who we want to be. I also think that building human connections make our self-love deeper, because we're able to figure out who we are and also just open and expand our minds by so much. There's been so many people that I never, ever, ever imagined I would come in contact with that I'm so grateful for. You know, like my best friend Lily, we are so polar opposite, we could not explain it anymore. But at the end of the day, like we connect on a deeper level because I know her heart and soul and she knows my heart and soul. And we have so much in common, although you would never think that we do. And yes, we've been best friends for the past 5 years and she knows me like the back of my hand. But things like that take time. And from the moment that we met, I knew Lily was going to be a forever friend to me. But I wouldn't have known that if I didn't reach out to her on Instagram when we were freshmen in college. And so now I can say that I'm so beyond grateful to have one of the most incredible people in my life who I love so much as a best friend. And I also say this so much to anyone who asks me for any advice. We're all going through the same things, and the more that we're able to relate to each other, the better that we can communicate with ourselves. And so take that leap of faith. It's a brand new year. No more holding yourself back or no more feeling like there's more out there for you, because if you feel like that, there truly is so much out there for you. And the world is your oyster. And I think the more that you just embrace that and create that for yourself is the more that you're going to be happier living the life that you want on your own terms. I feel like I was speaking so fast today. I didn't have coffee, I had matcha, and I missed matcha. I go through such phases where I'll get coffee or I'll get matcha, but there's no in between. I don't know if anybody else does that. I get like super fixated on something and then I love it, love it, love it. And then I don't want it anymore. And then I get super fixated on something else and then I love it for so long and then I go back to what I want and I just... Does that make sense? I don't even know. I feel like this episode is really like kind of all over the place, but I hope that my intentions were right and I hope that you guys could understand what I was saying and also take in this episode. And as always, thank you so much for listening to another episode and I love you.